Any update on the auto pen? I know that there was the DOJ and some others were looking into the thousands of documents that were signed off just before Joe Biden left office. Any update on the auto pen?
Yes. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at how far away you are, and you're going to need to get some microphones back there. And the auto pen investigation, yes. The White House counsel's office has launched their own investigation into former President Biden's usage of the auto pen. We have requested some documents from the National Archives. And again, as I've said many times from this podium, and the president has said as well, it's incredibly important that we get to the bottom of who really was at the tip of the spear in the decision-making process here in the White House.
The amount of information that's coming in is very rapid. And with this investigation versus the last Biden influence peddling investigation, we haven't thus far faced a weaponized left-wing media, because I think the left-wing media knows that this was a cover-up, and I think there's a little bit of curiosity now as to who was actually running the country.
They just talked to Joe Biden, and he was tip-top. He was in great physical condition. He was at the top of his game. Now they're coming back covering the track saying, yeah, it looks like he was in mental decline. Well, we all know he's in mental decline. What we need to know is who was calling the shots at the White House. And one thing that was also mentioned on your show thus far is that when you sign a document that has legal implications, it has to be signed personally. It can't be signed by an auto pen. You use auto pen for proclamations and mass letters and things like that. So I think that if we can understand more about the auto pen and whether or not Joe Biden authorized it, I think this could lead to a lot of those executive orders being kicked out in court.
All right. And when do you expect these subpoenas to go out?
Well, the letters have already gone out to the staffers as well as Dr. O'Connor. So if we don't hear anything from them in a week, then I would expect to start seeing subpoenas.
And if they fight the subpoena, what do you do?
We'll go to court. Jesse, they're going to try to plead executive privilege, and they're lawyering up, and we're ready. That's why we're making sure every I's dotted and every T's crossed.
The four staffers aren't well-known staffers. These four staffers operated behind the scenes. But while we're starting with them, Sean, we believe these are the staffers that were responsible for using the auto pen. Someone got documents and manually placed them in the machine and pressed the power button to sign Joe Biden's signature. That was not Joe Biden. That was done by staffers. That would be done by any staffer. So we believe and have good reason to believe these are the four staffers that were responsible for that. We want to ask them, who gave you the authority to use Joe Biden's signature? And we'll go from there. Obviously, we believe that some of the names, like the chief of staff and perhaps the first lady, were involved in a lot of the decision making. If that's where the trail leads, then we'll bring them in as well. But we're going to get answers to all the questions that every American deserves answers to. But again, we're going to see where the trail leads. We followed the money. We found the shell companies. We found the bank accounts. We're going to do the same thing with this auto pen.
James Comer's decision to go after Joe Biden for using an auto pen has backfired spectacularly.
This happens so often now, so frequently that most people don't even notice it anymore. In the last 24 hours, what could be the best example of Trump hate from the media and corruption from the media that we've ever seen. Here's the headline. Lead investigator into Joe Biden's use of the auto pen signed letters himself with a digital signature. And here's the alleged scoop, according to NBC News. Oversight Chairman, Republican James Comer, used a digital signature to send out letters and subpoena notices related to the Biden auto pen investigation. James Comer, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, tweeted out a picture of the NBC News reporter who wrote this report. His name is Ryan Nobles. And Comer tweeted out a picture of Nobles wearing clown makeup because Ryan is not noble. Ryan's a clown. He wrote a 25-paragraph report based on a lie, and his network is so biased and so darn corrupt that they had no problem publishing that lie, knowing that there are actually people out there who will read it and believe it and take it as fact. And that is NBC News Today, and they've been doing this for years.
An unexpected new twist in the investigation into former President Biden's use of the auto pen. Let's bring in NBC News Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles. What's going on there?
Well, Chris, NBC News conducted an analysis of the communications that the chair of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, has used to bring in former members of the Biden White House to ask them questions about Biden's use of the auto pen and his cognitive decline in office. And what we discovered is that of the 16 letters that Comer sent to these staffers, that they were all signed with the use of a digital signature, meaning that he did not actually sign these documents himself, similar to what he's accusing President Biden of not doing. Now, what he did do was use a wet signature, as it's called, for the actual subpoena requests for 2 Biden officials, including the White House physician Kevin O'Connor. But everything else was used with a digital signature. Now, that's not to say any of that is out of bounds. In fact, it's pretty common practice, not only in Congress, but in the executive branch, to use digital signatures or signatures that are not necessarily by the hand of the official who is signing them. But it is the crux of this investigation that the Oversight Committee is conducting, that somehow Biden's use of an auto pen or a signature that was not by his own hand thereby makes whatever he signed be invalid.
There's unforced errors, and then there's having a staffer use an auto pen to sign subpoenas to investigate staffers using auto pens. James Comer is almost comically bad at all of these criminal inquiries, and he always looks so guilty in interviews regardless of what he's talking about. The Republicans are utterly desperate at this point to shift the news cycle from Epstein to literally anything else. Auto pen, Dubai chocolate, Labubu's, they'll take anything. And they're talking non-stop now, in particular about Joe Biden and Barack Obama. They know full well that their policies are unpopular and their base is turning on them, so they're laying the groundwork to blame everything on the Democrats. We had to cut Medicaid. Joe Biden gave it to too many people. We had to scrap Social Security. Joe Biden made it unsustainable. That sort of thing. But people are bored of Biden. People were bored of Biden back when he was still president. James Comer will drag this out as long as he possibly can. But Joe Biden's auto pen just doesn't hit the same when Donald Trump is freaking out whenever he's asked a question about the Epstein files. If you enjoyed that, make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming an actual member. But you're probably wondering, why the hell would I do that, John? First off, calm down. The stakes in this are very, very low. But also, when you click the join button and you become a member, you get access to bonus content that I make every week, and it's a ton of fun. You get access to tons of custom emojis and more besides that. By the way, if you join at Tier 3, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself and other awesome people, and we always have a great time. By the way, you'll get all that going forward, but you also unlock years of the back catalog. That is literally 100 or more bonus clips, top 10 lists, debates, and more. What are you waiting for? Click the join button below. Your support powers our show, and we couldn't do it without you. Or at the very least, I wouldn't really want to try. Viewers like you keep me here. So thank you in advance for joining.